So, Erik Valdez, one word to summarize your dinner with racers.
Good.
That's acting.
Yep.
And now for Dinner with Racers, presented by
Continental Tire.
with your hosts, Ryan Eversley and Sean Heckman.
Placeholder radio sound. I'm a driver. I'm very angry. This is the sound of a driver on the radio during a race.
What do you think I should order?
All right, Dinner with Racers continues. I'm Sean Heckman,
I'm Ryan Eversley.
and welcome once again to the latest installment of our series. We are wrapping this whole thing up. We are somewhere outside of Atlanta on the freeway in Ryan's Acura MDX with what tires?
Continental Tires.
We are wrapping up a journey that has gone 8,000 miles,
Across the country through 20 states.
30 days it took, all so that you could hear 27 conversations that you in turn criticize.
And make fun of us on Twitter for.
So, next in our lineup, during our LA swing, we went out to the beautiful city of South Pasadena, California.
I believe you live there?
It was maybe convenient for me.
Okay.
And we met up with Hollywood star Erik Valdez.
My man.
Erik is known for several things. The show Graceland,
He was on a little show called General Hospital.
and has several things in the works, including Jarhead 3,
Jarhead 3.
where he plays what character?
Lopez.
So he's got that going on. But the thing about Erik is, while yes, he's an actor, and through the General Hospital and Graceland stuff, he's actually very, very well known. He's also a racer, true racer to the core. Taught at Bondurant for a little while, run some Continental Tire ST races, done a ton of celebrity races, and if fingers crossed, if things work out, he may also be running the Baja 1000 this year.
That's right. And side story about this interview, about halfway into it, I started to get what I think was food poisoning, and I literally was completely spaced out and trying not to throw up on the table. So you might notice I get a little quiet. And the other thing is that Erik has no idea until he hears this.
So, anyway, we went to the Canoe House. By the way, Ryan never got his food, so
Yeah.
you can't blame the Canoe House for the food
Which it
poisoning.
didn't matter. I didn't want it.
And I had a chicken sandwich. And and his girlfriend Candace joined us.
And she was fantastic.
And she's actually got a lot of radio experience. She does some radio hosting herself for a well-known children's network. And let's hear what they have to say.
Thanks again to Continental Tire.
All right, we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, how PG do we have to be? I don't cuss a lot, but if I let some stuff
Don't worry
slip-
about it.
All right.
We will bleep words because of our friends at Continental. But the worst offender of this whole thing has been me for the last 10
No,
weeks.
Lally.
Lally was actually
Lally
probably
was
the
pretty
worst.
bad. Like right
So-
off the bat, he's like, we were talking, and he's like, well, cluster. Well, he says, f-, and then we're like, okay, well, that's our first f-bomb. We got to delete that.
Yeah.
And then like 10 minutes later, he's out telling a story, and he's like, oh, it was a real cluster. F-. And we're like,
Dude.
and he goes, and he like
Yeah.
sincerely was like, no, cluster f-'s not a bad word.
Yeah.
And we're like,
Legal expert Andy
yes,
Lally.
yes, it is. It's like, no. That's what
Yeah,
it is kind
That
of.
negates the
That Scion looks awesome. It's like one of those
that was
whatever.
a pretty sweet little
That-
FRS.
Yeah, that thing had wheels and everything on it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Have you driven those cars?
No, I've only heard about them.
Way underpowered, phenomenal
but
little
really
chassis.
good, right?
Yeah.
A buddy of ours, John Miller. Have you met him? He races
We're
Continental.
like social media friends.
Yeah.
Like kind of like we were
Yeah.
until we finally met.
He had one of those. I think he might actually still have it, but he was living in Orlando at the time, and he came back from a race.
Yeah.
And he goes into it. They had like it's even a private parking lot, and he goes in the thing sitting on blocks, a Scion. Like,
Really?
yeah, we got to get those.
Really?
Yeah, and he was like, he only put like some like cheap something wheels on it. You
Where
know
does
what I
he
mean?
live?
He lived in Orlando at the time in a nice building. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah, man. Good
Florida
stuff.
is an interesting state.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time there the past couple years.
For filming stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Graceland, even though it takes
Oh, that's
place
right,
in
'cause, yeah,
California,
they
it
shot that in
films
Florida.
out in Florida. So like last season, I was there from March till August. And then this year I was there March. And then I went to Bulgaria. Then I came back. And then came back in like June.
Which is, to me, that's awesome because, like, if you watch something like CSI Miami, half
Right.
of it's in Long Beach. Like, you can actually see them filming on the streets and it's still got, like, the curbing from the Grand Prix.
One of my first roles out here. Aside from, I think Gilmore Girls was my very first, but one of the
He didn't do it,
ones
by the way.
shortly after that
Proud of him. Go on. Oh, we'll get into that. Go
was
ahead.
We'll tell you.
oh, okay.
Yep.
Was CSI Miami, and it was filmed out at the Hyatt Regency in Century City or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was, first of all, it was like I was new to TV and film, and so growing up in Texas and doing theater and stuff all my life, like you just assume that things are real on
Where
TV
they are,
or
yeah.
whatever. And so I'm like, wait, I'm on CSI, but we're in. Oh, when I first booked the gig, I'm like, oh, I get to go to Miami.
Right.
But anyway, it was a
They're like, no.
stellar role. I had, how many lines did I have? I think I had 3 or 4 lines initially, and the only thing that made the cut was in the opening sequence of the show, and all it is this. Oh my God. And that's it. That was it.
For those listening, he looked up and to the left.
Yeah. But you could see it in his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
He
It
sold it
was-
to me.
On a scale of 0 to drunk, how was David Caruso?
Ironically, I didn't shoot any scenes with him.
Huh, funny.
He did show up right when I was leaving, and I only saw him from afar. We didn't interact.
So
actually.
you weren't close enough to smell.
No.
Okay.
No, I
Good to
couldn't give you the lowdown for real.
Okay. Fair enough.
He did stumble in a little bit.
Did what?
Maybe that's just the way he walks.
He had a limp.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Just like kind of.
He's
But
pretty
that's
o-
his character.
He's getting up
Maybe
there.
he's
Yeah,
just
that's
like-
well. He's method.
Yes, very much
He
so.
probably fell over last night, and woke up sore back. What part of Florida do you film in when you're down there?
In Fort Lauderdale is where we stay, and we have a studio in Fort Lauderdale near some executive airport. I can't remember exactly
Okay.
what it's called.
Yeah.
But like my character had a house in Hollywood, Florida,
Right.
and then the cartel's compound is in Sunshine Ranches.
Okay.
Is that right?
Sure.
Mhm.
All right.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's where The Rock lives. It's like a bunch of horse property. and
Oh,
stuff.
okay,
It's
cool.
badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Mexico. It's as close to Mexico as you can get in Florida because there's desert. It was tough to shoot that.
And then you were in Bulgaria. I'm going to guess, looking at your IMDb, Jarhead 3.
Yes.
I called it.
Yes, you did.
Non-union.
No, it was
No?
totally. Dude,
Really?
It was 4 different projects over there. I had
Yeah, yeah.
no clue that anything was going on in Bulgaria.
Oh,
Why
it's
the
a-
heck
yeah,
would
it's
you
a
ever go
thing.
there?
Yeah.
And it was us. It was not what's the sequel to Olympus Has Fallen or London Has Fallen.
Yeah,
They're
right.
filming that out there. Some animated film and another. All 4 productions going. They have 2 studios out there.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. Eastern
Yeah.
Europe is like it's a whole mecca of it now.
It's probably the non-union part probably does apply to every other trade aside
Right.
from actors
Except
and
what-
directors. So
yeah.
they can get cheap labor and tax breaks and all sorts of
Yeah,
stuff. It's
exactly.
just-
Have you seen Olympus Has Fallen?
no.
It is something of admire.
Is it?
It is. It's amazing. Well, no, it's not. You got to appreciate it for what it is, which is not good.
Right. Go into it expecting an Oscar-worthy
if
film.
If you go in expecting what you're going to watch, then you're going to appreciate it. I mean, my favorite part is how Gerard Butler, you can't tell if he's supposed to be American or Scottish.
That's-
Like at one point, he's like, I'm going to go up through the ventilation. And you're like, wait, I thought you were an American? Okay, whatever.
Wait, you totally got to hear Candace's Scottish accent.
Yeah, we do.
She
Yeah, we
does a
do.
killer. It's terrible.
Oh, all right. Yeah, we're big on impressions on this
Yeah,
show.
it's like we're
Yeah.
in Scotland. All right.
And now do your Latina. It sounds pretty much the same. Yes. What?
Here we are.
I don't have a Latina accent.
Okay, just get mad.
You're half Latino.
I am half.
Right.
See how
I
we did
turn
that?
real country white when I get mad.
Real country white.
The Latina part doesn't come out. The white girl. Basic white girl.
Basic white girl. So you have to explain now what you're proud of Eric for not doing.
Okay, so there is an it's funny, you and I, even though I have never had an interest in acting, you and I have had interesting parallel careers between making it work in entertainment and making it work in racing, but the opposite. I started my career in entertainment and started moving over towards or I started my career in entertainment and moved towards racing right as you kind of cross back into Hollywood and vice versa.
Yeah.
But one thing I've always noticed that actors do is that, you could be on Seinfeld and no one ever addresses it. Oh, and then I was on Seinfeld. They always have to feel this need to address the show as though they're being humble. Like, and then I was on the show called Seinfeld. It's a total actor move, and you didn't do that when you mentioned Gilmore Girls, so I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. I will admit I'm guilty of that every now and then. Don't call me out on
I was
this.
going to call you out.
Call him
but
out,
I'm
call him
gonna
out,
let you call
call him
yourself
out.
Ask him what show he was on before Graceland.
What were you on before Graceland?
I was on a show called General Hospital.
Was that on television or
Yeah, in some areas.
okay?
Yeah, rural America.
Rural.
Now, I
Yeah.
understand there are some shows that maybe you haven't heard of, Jarhead 3, But
Come on, man.
I hadn't heard of
I'm
Jarhead
excited about
2.
Jarhead 3.
I didn't know about
Jarhead
Jarhead
2.
2.
I actually,
That's the thing everybody says.
'Cause they
Like,
didn't know.
there was a Jarhead
it
2.
was straight to
Right.
video, right? Because I saw it.
It was.
Yeah.
What?
I didn't see it. I saw the first one.
I'm a when I'm doing video edits, I'm a big fan of the white noise, Netflix in the background, and sometimes you just want something that you know you're not going to pay attention to.
Right.
So Jarhead 2 came up,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, oh, well, there it is.
Well,
And
I'll provide some more white
I'm
noise for
very
you here
excited about
soon.
this. Yeah.
Here's a real question.
Yes.
How is there a Jarhead 2? Is it because Matthew Swafford wrote the first book about Jarhead, and so it's a biography, or kind of
Right.
like recounting his tales, and then is the second book like a continuation that he did, or is it, second movie, or is your movie have anything to do with that, or is it
No,
just
not
like good
necessarily.
concept, keep it going kind
I
of thing?
think that's
Okay.
basically it. Is somebody got the rights to the concept of the film
Right.
and said, "Hey, we can do this for a relatively low budget and still make it exciting. So let's run with it."
Right.
And that, and again, this is just me speaking from. I didn't sit down with the execs at Universal and
Sure.
say, "How did you gather the rights to this film?" But that's what seems to make sense. So yeah, I don't think it's. I don't think it really has any correlation or trueness to this particular story. I won't tell you all about it because you got to be somewhat
No, I'm very
You know.
excited about this.
somewhat surprised.
Okay, and I looked it up. Your character's name is Lopez,
Yeah,
which
it's
made me so happy.
It's why did that make you happy?
Hollywood, nothing. It's never. You're never. Like, I would love to see you in Jarhead 3, and it's like your name is Smith,
Right.
You know,
See,
or
and
Johnson or something.
This brings
Or
up
like-
an interesting
yeah,
point
not-
because I kind of like her here. I am half her, my fiance. I'm half Latino, half yes, and half. Well, my mom's side is like English, Irish, and Native
Sure.
American, and
Okay.
then my dad's is like Mexican and Spaniard, Native. So I'm a big
Okay.
mutt in reality.
Sure.
But yes, like Hollywood says, "Oh, your last name is Valdez. You must play Latino."
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much all the time.
Right.
And it's here recently. It's hindered me a little bit.
Right.
There's been a couple of shows that I've gone out for that killed in the audition room.
Don't tell me you're too brown.
Went to
for it.
producers. No, I wasn't quite Latino enough.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Hollywood.
Did you button that shirt all the way up?
I did only
Yeah.
the top one like
Right,
that.
just
And then
the
I
top
I
one.
was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, what's up, eh?" And they
Wow.
still didn't buy it.
I bought it right there. Yeah.
know.
Well,
I'm
were
scared
they
of you
like
now.
hardcore roles?
One of them was.
Okay.
Actually, both of them kind of were. Well, I mean, we can talk a little bit about it. It's one of them was for John Singleton's new show on FX. Ironically, I played a drug lord, psychotic guy on Graceland, and then this show is set in the 80s during the cocaine boom,
Okay.
and then so was the other show actually. So I would have gone from playing a drug lord to a drug lord in either way, shape, or form.
Sure.
However, even though I just got through playing a drug lord, somehow I wasn't drug lordy enough for
Right.
these. I don't know. Hollywood is a little strange sometimes in that, but it makes it exciting, I guess.
What's your experience as a drug lord in real life? Like anything there to pull from?
Oh, dude, yeah, all the time. I mean,
Just-
that's how I paid for my car habit growing up. And,
Nice.
and I was right on the border of Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, so it was easy.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Because you grew up in El Paso, right?
I did. I grew up in El Paso, which is right there next to like the
Yeah,
mecca of
we-
bringing everything into this country.
We literally just drove through there on our
I'm
little road
sorry.
trip, and like you look out to the left basically if you're headed west.
Yeah.
And it's like that's Juarez right
Oh, it
there.
is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you said you drove late at night. You didn't see any
Okay,
of it during the
so
day?
actually, no. That was during the day. Where was it that we drove from where we saw everybody getting pulled over? That was late at night.
Oh
and
no,
in
that was
Texas.
going Houston to Austin.
Houston to Austin, yeah. We
Yeah,
assume
there was like
whatever
this-
stretch that was must be a bad area because even though it was in the middle of nowhere, we probably passed like 15 cop cars, multiple cars in each stop, pulling people over, going through trunks and everything. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, middle of nowhere. Yeah,
It is. I mean,
you all right?
Sean's
good.
Sean's all right.
I'm
Hey,
good.
Someone's got to produce this thing.
It produces it.
Someone's got to. Yeah. Oh, well, in that case, you're out.
I'm
You're-
out.
You're out, Sean.
Take a break.
Are you busy for the next 20 days?
Put in Candace. They called in from upstairs.
Put in Candace.
I like your shirt.
I like your shirt.
Thanks.
So
Who
this
looks
is on
better in
but-
their shirt,
So
though?
here's the, so because you guys are in these matching shirts. Here's the thing that honestly got
We
confuses
have
me.
food.
Because that's what
So-
you guys do all the time, right?
Yeah. So like,
Thank you.
I understand you showed up, and you were wearing the same shirts by accident.
What do we
But
got?
that still means you possess the same
salad.
shirts.
Salad.
This is very true. Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
No
So-
worries.
Like, did you guys go shopping one day and you decided you both needed it, or how
The
did you
funny
end up with the
thing
same
is, he picked this shirt out for me at Zara.
He's like, this one looks really
Well,
cool.
because I did. I said, I was like, hey, I like that shirt, and for a reason, I have one like it.
So here's the so you're eating salad right now. What have you got? You got
It's got some wonton chips on it,
Nice.
some tomatoes, and I forget what Homeboy said the dressing was.
Because according to, and I know actors lie about their age, but I'm going to assume you're actually being honest with yours. You and I are exactly the same age now. I am older by 1 month.
Are you really?
And I think that explains why I look 10 years older. So the next 4 weeks for you are going to suck. I'm just putting it that way.
It's going to get real bad real
Yeah,
quick.
It's going to get real
It
bad.
goes
real
downhill
quick.
from here?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Damn.
I got
Aw.
nothing.
Well, I'll just enjoy it for a while, however long it lasts.
Get your headshots taken now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Basically what we're saying.
Wait, what's your birthday exactly?
March 22nd.
Okay.
So, and you're like sometime in April, is that right?
No, August.
August.
That
okay.
explains it all
6
right
months.
there.
That's right.
6
That's the
months.
difference right there.
Uh-huh.
So,
Enjoy it,
Fine.
man.
but
Yeah.
this has got to be a weird age for an actor. Like I would assume mid-30s is that point where you can start playing fathers, and especially if you're Latino in roles, you can believe like
So
fathers
you
are
can
like
play
10.
fathers at 17.
Exactly.
Oh.
Grandpa Lopez. But it's a weird age because you can still probably like, and you're a young-looking guy, so you can probably I probably couldn't play high school stuff, but you could still play like a guy just out of college or some young upstart or a dad.
I feel like wow.
Wow.
Radio
The
professional. over
radio
here.
pro just put Spam Masubi all over her mic. That's
No,
awesome.
I didn't. That was my ring. Sorry.
I feel like so many movies now are mailing it in on that stuff. They're like,
Yeah.
whatever. That no one cares that this 30-year-old
what age
dude's
he
playing
is, yeah.
playing a high school kid. Because I've seen movies, one of them's like sticking out to me, and I can't think of it right now. But you're like, wait, no, they're not in high school.
Right.
That dude's 45 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
So you'll be fine.
They've been doing that
Yeah.
for a while. I mean, the sad thing is, in my opinion, characters get very interesting in their 30s because it's pretty true to life. Like
Right.
your 20s are weird as shit, and it's you're trying to figure yourself out and life out and everything like that. Then you get in your 30s and your mid 30s, the life has evolved a bit. You've got a lot of stories. Things have happened and everything, so the characters then become a little more interesting inherently.
Right.
I don't play my age. Like I've never, I've always been, 5 to 7 years younger than what I really am in terms of characters I play, which isn't a bad thing. Like I said, that's a wonderful thing to look
Yeah, it's a
younger
nice
than
advantage
you
to
do.
have, yeah.
But I'm
I
kinda
don't have
itching
that
to-
problem, by the way. Go on.
You look fantastic, by the way.
That's not true.
That scruff is killing it.
Yeah,
You
that's
might be a good actor, but I didn't buy that. I just want to point out that I Google image searched Erik Valdez racing, and I came up.
nice.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, it's a very small picture of my race car, but
Oh,
it's
wow,
I'm
look
taking
at
it.
that.
I'm going to be showing that to girls at the bar.
Sweet.
Yep.
'Cause you
I was on a show called General Hospital. Did I do that right?
do you actually say I
Perfect.
was on a show called General Hospital?
Yes, I've said that.
Holy
I'm gonna be honest
you're
about it
that
here.
asshole.
Look, here's the deal. You walk a fine line because if you're like, oh, I was on General Hospital, or I was on a show called General Hospital, or
Right.
I did this show called General Hospital. There's no good way of saying it. Either way, you sound kind of like a pompous ass.
No, I get that. But to me, I don't know. To me, it's the same as like, because we've all met that guy who's like, as you saw on my Twitter. Like, no, I wasn't checking your damn Twitter.
I would never say something like that. I don't think
Oh.
they're exactly
I
the
would.
same.
Yeah, he's done it. So,
That's every
morning.
conversation with us. Yeah. Sean, I know you saw my Twitter.
but no, I get that it's a tough thing. But I respect that you said Gilmore Girls to us. It's just we would know, and rightfully so.
All right, let's talk a little bit about racing because you're obviously probably more popularly known as an actor from Jarhead 3. And
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
but you're an actual car guy, and I wasn't sure until we met, which is about a couple weeks ago now.
It's been like a couple months, man.
Has it been? Yeah, I've been so gone so much that I don't even know anymore. But
Thank you.
your tacos are here, Sean.
Yeah,
We've
thank you.
got tacos and mahi-mahi.
Cool.
When they said no tomatoes on it, they also put the pico de gallo.
Are you serious? It's fine.
No, I mean I like the.
Oh no, I'm good. No, this is all I wanted. Awesome, thank you.
The less vegetables, the better.
Okay, between he and I, who would you say is older? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. I'm asking you a question.
Poor
We'll
guy.
tip well.
I think
We'll
we
tip
all
well.
are.
This poor guy.
I bet I dare you to guess how old I am.
I'm not touching that at all. All right.
So you came to the World Challenge IndyCar race at Sonoma. We chatted for a bit, and I was shocked because a friend of ours, Gunnar Jeanette, came up, who's a former Ford factory guy and had just done some Mustang launch with the new. You probably remember what it was. The
Shelby GT350 or
something.
I think so.
badass.
Yeah.
And you guys were like rattling off stuff together, and I just kind of lost interest because I'm not that into cars. Like I love cars, but I don't remember paint codes. like you do, because you were literally like, oh yeah, no, I ordered that one, but it doesn't come in the gray I wanted, so I got the silver, and I'm gonna add a clear coat to it, it'll make the gray, and I was just like, I gotta go sit down.
I'm gonna go polish my race car.
Yeah,
now.
exactly. But that's when I knew you were actually a car guy. Now, for the folks listening at home that are your followers that don't follow racing, you and I race in the same series, the Continental Tire Series.
Yes.
And this year you were only able to do the Daytona season opener
Yeah.
because you have a job.
I have a job
Right.
that gets in the way, unfortunately,
Right.
and fortunately at the same time.
Exactly. We spoke with C.J. Wilson earlier. He has the same thing. He's only able to really do one race a year, which is the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill, because his schedule
Right.
is too wrapped around the other stuff. So talk about how the Continental Series ride came together for you. You know, how you got paired up with Rebel Rock and that whole thing.
Yeah, so, I mean, being out here in the entertainment industry, it's a small community, whether it be acting, music in this case, radio, whatever it is. Everybody kind of, when you get to a certain level where you're at least working, I'm definitely not Tom Cruise or even Dempsey's level for that matter, but at least I'm able to do it for a living. So once you get there, it's sad, actually. The amount of people who can actually do what I do for a living is minuscule. I mean, you look at like professional actors, quote unquote, the members of the union, SAG and AFTRA. I think the median income, and this is including, everybody from your first starting out to Tom Cruise, and the median income annually is like $5,600 per year.
Wow.
Is what
Including
your professional actors
including the big
make.
guys.
Right.
Wow.
So if you think about that, how it averages out, it's pretty. The numbers are stacked against you even more heavily than in motorsports in some cases.
Right.
And we'll get more into that in a minute, because these two things are completely parallel in a lot of ways that I didn't even initially realize.
Sure.
But so you get to this certain level, you get kind of in a community of working people, and through mutual friends, I ended up meeting Jim Johnson. I knew who he was through his music and everything.
Jim
like
Johnson,
that.
the owner of Rebel Rock.
Yes.
And also a very successful record.
Grammy-winning
Yep.
producer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's and a really nice guy.
Yeah, good dude.
And so we ended up getting we were kind of put in each other's lives, so to speak, just through friends. Hey, you guys both love cars, blah blah blah. Let's talk. And long story short, I mean, there's much more to this story, but we ended up getting together one day out in Florida when I was filming out there. The girl who plays my sister on Graceland, she knew Jim from back in the day. I guess one of the guys she dates, either dated or the guy she's currently dating, is also in the music industry and knows him. And so paired us up and everything. We talked about it. I said, look, I want to get back into racing in some way, shape, or form. Let's make this happen. Talked about it over a few months, and then Daytona came about, and we were able to kind of package something together there. And initially it was going to be, I knew I couldn't commit to a full season. I didn't know exactly how my year was going to play out, because sometimes, we don't know as actors when we're working again, And so, but I knew I could commit to Daytona and then Sebring. I committed to both of those initially, with the caveat that, hey, if something happens, I got to go. That's just how it is. So did Daytona, which was amazing. I mean, again, for a diehard car motorsports guy, like you said, literally, I rolled up there, and I'm going through the tunnel into the infield, and just
This
get
was your
chills.
first time ever
And
being
yeah,
there.
first time
Yeah.
ever being at Daytona, and I'm like, holy shit! I'm not only just coming to check this place, I'm actually going to drive this place here in a second. This is insane. And so I went from age 36 or 35 at the time down to like age 15, and
Right.
it was the coolest thing in the world. And this was for the Roar initially. Went out there to test and everything, because again, I'd never been at Daytona. It's not the most technical track in the world, but it's higher speed. I'd never driven anything with that amount of banking, and I'd never been in the car that I was going to drive. So definitely had to go out there and get some seat time. We did that, and got up to speed fairly quickly. And again, this is at this point. And then we're skipping through a few things here and there, but this is probably, it had been 8-9 years since I'd been in anything at that level of competition. I'd done some one-off endurance kart races
Right.
here and there, or a charity race here or there or whatever, but not in this group of professional drivers like yourself and everything that do this day in and day out. It's just a little intimidating, and you get that little bit of self-doubt, like, well, shit, am I still going to be fast?
Right.
The good and the bad is nobody's expecting me to be any good. Oh, here comes this actor guy. Let's
Sure.
throw him in a car and
Right.
let him make a fool out of himself.
Right.
So the good part of it is I'm not expected to be fast. The bad part of it is if I lived up to that stereotype, then I look like an asshole anyway.
Right.
So I went in it with just the mindset of, hey, let me just challenge myself. I'm not going to worry about anybody else or even being trying to podium, trying to do that. It's just pointless at this point.
Right.
So went into it, got up to speed pretty quickly. There was a couple little mishaps here and there. Didn't ball the car up. I did spin it in the kink.
It's like the worst place you could
It's
spin
the
it.
worst
Yeah.
place to. Here I am talking to guys at like Andy Lally and other guys, which were a huge help, and asking them, this and that, blah blah blah, and I'm like, this kink, it feels like I can go a little faster. And, oh yeah, you can go flat through there. Not realizing that Andy and these other guys are in cars that have a lot more downforce than we do and know the track. And if you're 6 inches off your mark on entry, it doesn't work out so well for you. So I found that out the hard way.
Right.
Spun it 4 flat spotted tires, kept it on track, and everything was good. But it definitely kind of checked me up a bit and said,
Right.
okay, let's take this a little slower. So anyway, we get to the whole point with race day and everything coming around, and again, it's a whole different ball of wax when you're in a group of, I think we had 50 some odd cars between the two classes on the grid.
Right.
And unfortunately, we qualified. We struggled with car setup the whole week, or 2-3 days prior to the
At least
race.
definitely a driver.
And
By the way.
He's already complaining.
Setup.
Yeah.
well, no, I mean it literally, like, it was just it was bad, and we were trying to figure it out and throwing everything at it, and I'm trying to give as much feedback as possible, even though I haven't really driven the track.
Sure.
And Jim's given his feedback. He has driven the track, knows the car, etc. And we're both on the same page, so something's not right. Long story short, we qualified terrible. I think we qualified 27th. Where did we qualify? Out of 32 cars or something like that in our field. And I qualified the car because I was going to start. Obviously, Jim, knowing the track, he's going to close, blah, blah, blah. That's just the plan we had there. And so started 27th. Or knew we were starting 27th, so there's not a whole lot to lose. They just basically scrapped everything, started from scratch, realigned the car, redid this and that. And I go out for morning practice the next morning, and it's a night and day difference. The car is way easier to drive. It's not pushing. It's not. So I'm like, okay, we got something we can work with here. And I start the race. And that first time you go into like turn 1 with all these cars just funneling in is insane, because you're carrying some good speed, by the time you get there already on cold tires and everything.
Well, in the starting lineup for the Continental Series, it's a very mixed level of talent going into turn 1 with that series.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
I mean, understandably so.
Yeah.
And so I go through there. I make it through turn 1. I'm like, okay, we got that part done. Now let's start trying to see what we can do. And worked my way up. I think I turned the car over, and where was I at? 9?
Just say
9th.
third. Okay.
No, I think I brought it up to 9th, which was
9th.
pretty. I mean, that was a lot of fun moving up
Sure.
through the field like that, and handed over. And then unfortunately, we had some more car issues with Jim getting in the car and everything like that. Anyway, the whole thing was just an amazing weekend, and Jim and I got along really well. Unfortunately, after that weekend, just between scheduling and just different things, there's no hard feelings between Jim and I at all. I love the guy. We were on a couple different pages, I think, after that weekend. And so with that said, and then the fact that I had to start filming, Graceland right away, which films in Florida, which I thought would make it easy to drive across the state to Sebring.
Right.
Literally like a week before that is when I found out I had to go to Bulgaria to do this film. So that scrapped that.
Right.
And then it just kind of snowball effect, filming all year. I didn't get back to L.A. and done until the end of June, and then proposed to this one. And so that took up some
There we go.
some
Okay.
time.
What'd you say? What'd you say? Oh, she said
She
yes?
said yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's
All right,
there,
so this is
yeah.
about
She
to
said,
get-
I guess so.
All right.
It was
So this is
actually,
really
of
awkward.
course, but
Yeah.
I guess so.
Cool. Nice
But
job.
thank you.
I was talking to her.
Oh, okay. But
Thanks.
it's, the reality of it, and this is where I kind of have to keep these things in check, is the only reason I'm even getting these opportunities to get back in race cars now is because, again, not being Tom Cruise or Patrick Dempsey, but I'm a little more marketable than your average 19-year-old
Right.
kid, which
Absolutely.
I once was.
Right.
And was pissed because couldn't come up with the money to
Yep.
get in a
Right.
ride and all this other stuff. But understanding the business side of things now, yeah, when you go to talk to sponsors and be like, oh, yeah, here he's decently quick in a car, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, he's also on a TV show. So
Right.
he can do a few things outside the track. It makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
So knowing that and keeping that as a priority, I had no choice but to
Right.
continue to work. And
Right.
so I missed out on the bulk of the rest of the entire season, as it were. But at this point in life, I've accepted that. I mean, I guess if we go all the way back and talking about parallels and stuff like that, my number one passion was always motorsports. As a kid, that's all I ever wanted to do was, race F1. That was a goal, which at 7, 8 years old, a kid with no money from America. Never really stood much of a chance, but you couldn't tell me that. Like, that's what I wanted to do and what I was going to do.
And at that age, you have no idea how big the world really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so at the same time, I did theater growing up and everything. So those were always my two passions. Motorsports was number one. And I chased that dream for years and worked at the Bonnarant School as an instructor for a while. Got paid $9 an hour or something stupid, but good networking, and that's what a lot of this is about in both industries.
Yeah, relationships. The whole line. Yeah.
It just never really worked out. I ended up moving out to California for a couple of reasons. I got a chance to do a show called Gilmore Girls.
There it is.
We're gonna look. Hang on, I'm gonna Google that.
And also to test in Star Cars, Pro Formula Mazda.
Yeah.
So a buddy of mine, Michael McDowell, who used to work at Bonnarant with me, he was racing that car, and then he these tacos are amazing sounding.
Sean, that sound effect was fantastic. I mean,
Really good. It's a good taco.
It sounds like it.
Okay, go on.
So Michael McDowell, he moves up to run prototypes, and his seat's available. Talk to the guys at Star Cars, set up a test, come out here. I was coming out here anyway because I decided I wanted to give a go at television and everything as well. Long story short, and everybody who's a racing fan is familiar with these stories, they wanted $400,000 for an 11 race series, which is, it's an open wheel feeder series. It's like playing minor league ball. They don't get a lot of TV time. They don't get a lot of live viewership. So when you're talking about return on investment, which again back then I didn't fully understand because I'm like, why can't I go race cars? Just, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll put in the work. I was, anything that I could say to convince somebody that I would be worth it, there's just from a business standpoint didn't make sense. So I shelved that dream.
right.
Kind of chose to focus on acting, kind of begrudgingly. Like it was bittersweet. That's all I ever wanted to do, and here's one dream kind of being crushed. And so I shelved that and said, well, screw it. At least if I follow this other dream, it's nowhere near more secure. But the monetary investment wasn't there. All I had to do, if I worked hard on myself and I worked on my craft, so to speak, and all these other things, and networked and did everything that I knew I was capable of doing, in my mind, it was just a matter of time.
Right.
And, call it confidence, call it positive thinking, whatever. I don't consider myself better than any other human being on this planet by any means, but I do have a good work ethic, and I know how hard I work towards things that dreams to me are not unattainable. You just have to really work towards them. And fast forward to now, that was the smartest thing I ever did in reality, because if I was mid-30s racing cars now and decided I wanted to go be an actor and pursue that dream, the chances of that happening would be slim to none.
Right.
Exactly.
I'll never be an F1. I've accepted that. But with sports car racing, I've grown. I mean, that's kind of what I started with anyway. I started off autocrossing and then went into sports car racing and then ran ICC shifter karts for a while. And then now I'm, back in sports car racing. And the wonderful thing about it is you can do it till you're 75. I think Paul Newman did it till he was 74, 75 years old. You can do it the rest of your life. And on pretty competitive levels. I mean, Continental Sports Car Challenge, for example, is filled with, like you said, a varying amount of talents, which, in all honesty, really helps with racecraft and stuff, because you can't just, not everybody is an elite driver out there. So you can challenge certain people, and then other people you watch what they're doing. And not that I'm, on the upper echelon there. I probably fall somewhere in the middle, but it really kind of teaches you, racecraft and car control and all these things that I was afraid I'd forgotten, having been away from it for so long.
Yeah, you look at a guy like Scott Pruitt. He's 55 years old and still winning races overall, and doing as good as his young teammates, who were just in DTM a year ago.
Well, and to your point, by doing what you're doing now, you're raising your own profile for marketability. But the other thing is and we look at a guy like Patrick Dempsey, who's a shining example of this. In something like sports car racing, where your co-driver is a big part of maybe some of your funding or where you're going, you're a guy that somebody's wife would want to hang out with, and in a weird way, that may really, really help you down the road.
You're taking my thing.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
That's your bid.
Right. My bid is be likable, because half of this is hanging out with wealthy guys that do this for fun, Sean.
Or that's just every goddamn sports car driver, Ryan.
I wasn't going to say that. But because I get the question all the time. Well, how do you make it? How do you make it? And it's like, I mean, you're probably not gonna make it because making it doesn't last forever in sports car racing. You know what I mean? There's no really resting on your laurels. But if the guy that's paying for you to race doesn't want to go have dinner with you afterwards or bring his wife around you, you're not going to keep that ride. Because we say this all the time. And kind of going to your point, if you work on yourself in the acting thing and keep trying, you're going to get an opportunity eventually.
Right.
In sports car racing or in any form of racing, sometimes you can have a little bit of money behind you and a bad attitude. The money goes away quick, because of that. So
You can keep eating. It's fine. We can take a break if you want to actually eat.
We can just talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
How
Candace,
you doing, man? You good?
I'm not talking to you. I want to talk to Candace, for crying out loud.
Dick.
Are you from Texas? You're from Texas too.
I am, yeah.
And how did this happen? this thing.
And what happened?
Yeah.
My one friend, when I moved out to LA, I only had one. Are my levels okay?
Radio professional there. You want to put a
Yeah.
mic? All right.
I can't. This is weird. I don't normally use a mic like this.
Do you use like a proper?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of those metal ones that hangs from the ceiling?
No.
You stand in a
No.
room
Have you
with
ever tried to
papers?
do like the old time talkie voice? Out here on Radio
Like-
Disney.
Like the classic radio guy.
Yeah. Radio Disney.
On the
Oh,
radio.
Probably
See?
sounds like a
Right,
Scottish
right.
accent.
Probably it's really bad.
Descendants too.
My one friend when I moved here from Texas, turned
I still
out
hear a
to.
little Texas, by the way.
Yeah,
Just
I do
so
too.
I
It
heard
comes
yeah.
and goes.
Yeah. Go on.
I'm really focused
Give her
right
a little
now.
wine.
Not,
It's all in.
It's flying out.
we can. I mean,
Shots.
if that's your
Shut
shtick. The only person I knew in LA when I moved here ended up being his entertainment manager.
Okay.
So he kind of, set us up.
Sure.
Now,
If you will.
are you also acting, or is radio what you do now?
Just radio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
I just talk and do some on-camera hosting, TV stuff.
It's funny because every time we've done this, I'll just like Google image search and like Wikipedia, whoever we're talking to, and just get
So you're
topics
creeping
in
right
head.
now online.
Yeah, but not
yeah.
you, on my man Eric.
Yeah,
over there.
okay,
Yeah,
good.
just I do this anyway, so it was like I just went to
We all do it.
Favorites, clicked Eric, brought it right up. But what's funny is that while we're sitting here, I'm just kind of like scrolling through photos, and there's like Eric's funeral, one of Eric's weddings, one of he's in the because it's all General Hospital or
Right.
whatever TV show pictures, and I was just looking, I'm like, that doesn't look like her.
Well, so that would actually be when I worked at the old NBC studios, which was just a few miles down here in Burbank. I was never a page, but the single biggest thing that the pages always got was they were upset that the soap operas weren't shot there. Like Passions was the big thing at the time, and they were all like, "There's no Passions." So I learned at a very early age that soap opera fans can. They may listen, so I don't want to say they're nutty, but they're very passionate.
That's a good
So
word.
I assume you still get recognized quite a bit, but I don't care about you, Eric. Candace, how
I do.
there's got to be like
Thanks, buddy.
random girls who stop and like, oh my God, it's Dr. Trey, whatever you are.
Trey
And,
Mitchell.
Trey Mitchell.
Yeah.
How do you do you is there a part of you that's like, oh, you hands off?
No, never.
Really?
Just because he makes me feel so secure all the time,
Right.
and
You have nothing to
I'm
worry
such a selfie taker that I just want to take their phone and make sure I get a good picture that they're gonna tag him in.
You appreciate their struggle.
Yeah,
You're like, let me make sure
I
we get
do.
the lighting right.
I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, take it
She's-
up high.
she's
That way you
been-
don't have a no neck chin situation.
Right.
She's been amazingly supportive, which is part of the reason why I'm marrying her. I mean,
Ooh, ooh.
but she's it's
Tell us more about how amazing I am.
Well, we're gonna tell a little story about an ex, real quick, just because.
Which
it's
side? Yours or hers?
Mine.
Okay.
Okay.
No, so you were mentioning
Awkward.
like the. You're
I'm
mentioning
just
like
kidding.
the wedding photos and the this and that.
Yeah, it's really
General
funny
Hospital.
actually. Yeah.
I'm gonna
So
eat while you tell
a
this.
girl I dated prior to Candace, literally I was dating her when I first got on General Hospital and everything like that, and when I got married on the show, she lost her shit. Like she,
What?
yeah, she
On
just
the show,
on
the
the show.
character.
yeah, oh yeah, she couldn't,
Wow.
just couldn't quite
Acting?
separate reality from
What?
from that.
Really?
You knew this story. Don't act
I've
like
never
you
heard
didn't.
this story.
You did.
She's like, Trey.
No.
It's part of the
No,
reason
Eric.
she was.
I'm Eric. She's like, listen, Trey. We need to talk. I'm like, is this an audition?
Wait, I want to hear the rest of this because I've never
Yeah.
heard this, guys. Sorry.
You've heard this story. Candace has a selective memory.
I have terrible memory. Yeah.
Proceed.
No, yes. So this.
Although, unless you're going to fight more, and then yes, let's hear more.
we don't fight. This
Was-
is as,
Yeah,
this
we're
is
no
as
good for that.
argumentative as we get.
Is the ex an actress?
No.
Okay, so it wasn't like she
No.
should know better. She's crazy and not in the business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she also was the same girl who, after we broke up, like a month or month and a half down the road, ends up sending me a text picture because we had a storage unit together, and I had a separate set of wheels for one of my cars and a whole bunch of other shit. She sends a text message with the picture of all my stuff on the side of the road in Venice Beach.
Yes.
And I'm like,
we can hang. All right.
This is,
We can definitely hang.
this is exactly why we're not together
Just
anymore.
to be sure you don't want me back, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
Now, back to life advice for our listeners, because that's what this really is. This is a life advice kind of show.
It's a service.
Did she have
Dr. Ryan?
Did she have daddy issues?
No, actually.
Really?
It's kind of
Okay.
creepy when you say daddy.
Daddy.
Just say
No,
dad
it's
issues.
a dad
Say
issues.
dad issues.
Okay.
Daddy.
Because I argue that dad issue girls, while a terrible idea, are a ton of fun.
We just had this discussion on
Yeah.
the way out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna comment on that.
That's a yes.
But no, she didn't have any daddy issues. She was just nuts.
All right.
Okay.
And not an actress. So where do you stand on dating actresses, Candace aside? Back to life advice. Would you say it's a terrible
No,
idea?
stay away from
Let's.
it.
Okay. God, there you go. Having said all that, who's Kelly Sullivan? She's hot.
Oh, here's the
I thought
funny
that-
thing
Yeah.
about Hollywood, and you were talking earlier about ages and playing different things. She is a year older than me in
Right.
real life, and she played my mother on General Hospital.
Nice.
And
Nice.
she's a very attractive woman. I don't quite.
In the photos, it looks like I thought that was going to be the girl you married on the show
No.
that your ex-girlfriend went crazy about.
That's my mom, yo.
Yeah, look, dude. Like, look at this picture of these two.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's your mom on the show?
That's mom.
I
Yeah.
love-
Nuts.
So if
Yeah.
you read
Nice.
because as much as we look like big soap opera fans, we're not.
Speak for yourself, bro.
If you read like the Wikipedia about Dr. Trey Mitchell, he's had a very
Not
long,
a doctor.
You had a rough
Oh,
go.
excuse me.
He's a janitor.
Janitor Trey Mitchell.
He's a janitor with an undergrad.
But here's my thing: it's like
From
his
Yale?
yeah, his,
Was it Yale?
Oh yeah.
his bio is crazy. But my question is, his bio didn't start that way, right? That's just like 4 years of like them running out of ideas on what to do. So it's like, let's make him born from rape, you know? And
Pretty much. It's
Yeah.
it's like he
It
was
actually says conceived via.
conceived via
conceived
rape.
via.
I was
Does
like,
it really?
oh, yeah, I was like, Jesus. There's a better way to write that.
So Trey's lineage, as it were, goes
Yeah.
all the way back to like probably the 80s. The show's been on the air now, I think 53 years
something
almost.
crazy like that.
It's insane. And
The show called General Hospital.
this show called General Hospital. His family goes way back. So this was a new character. You know, on soap operas, sometimes they'll revive characters that have come and gone, or they're ghosts now, or they're twins or something. This is a completely new character, but his family had been around for a while, and so yeah. I haven't read that Wikipedia thing that
It's
you're
amazing.
talking about, but it's. I mean, I can tell you the story. It's basically he was conceived by rape.
Via.
Via rape. And his mother was schizophrenic, and his father was a mobster, but Trey didn't know about that until well into his 20s because he thought his dad was an antiques dealer and blah, blah. I mean, it's typical, like, really good soap opera stuff.
Right. That's one way
And
of
so
putting
it made for a very, I mean, look, creatively as an actor, it wasn't 100% fulfilling. And I don't think you're going to find any actor that does soap operas that just is diehard about that. That said, it was an amazing platform, and it is a historical show, and
Yeah,
to be a part of
big
it
deal.
is, I'll always be grateful for that. And then back to the fans you mentioned, and them being very, very supportive, very, whatever words you choose to use,
Passionate.
passionate.
Yeah.
They've been phenomenal. Like, they're I still get stopped more for what I did on General Hospital versus anything else
Sure,
I've done.
sure.
Even Graceland. I've been off General Hospital now for almost 3 years, I
But
guess.
it's a diehard fan base.
It's a diehard
Yeah.
fan
Yeah.
base, and I mean, like half the people I still talk to on Twitter have been there since day one from GH,
Right.
and it's amazing, man. I mean, that's one of the things that I've really grown to love, and you get to experience this too in the motorsports world. Giving and we'll talk a little bit more about this because that's part of the reason Ryan and I became friends on social media and everything is because I love what he does for other people on the charitable side and everything like that, and that's always been one of my biggest motivating factors. When people say, oh, do you want to be famous or this or that? Yeah, I do, but not because I care for everybody to know who I am, but because the bigger my voice gets, the more I can do for other
Absolutely.
people.
Right.
And to be able to, even on a small scale level, like on Twitter, if somebody tweets and says, hey, I watched your episode of this or that the other day, blah, 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 I always take the time to respond to them. And, like at the racetrack, this is where I'm saying you kind of get that parallel. You got people that come up to you, and you may have never even met them before, but they've followed you on social media or seen you on TV racing or whatever. And for some odd reason, you've affected them enough for them to come up to you and say something. Right. And to me, that's huge. Yeah. And I think the moment, if you're given a platform like that, whether it be acting, whether it be racing, whatever it is, if you're given a platform like that and the moment you start to take that for granted, that's when you should just stop. Yeah. Because it's not about becoming, the most recognizable person in the world so that everybody wants to know you and wants to be with you. And because that stuff happens too. People automatically want to be associated with you and everything, which is great in some ways. But, again, you got to look at all people's motives and stuff like that and associate yourself with the people that count and those that also want to do good for others and just kind of go on the journey with you. And so, I mean, for me, like I said, having a fan base like that is there's people that I know literally when they'll tweet, I recognize their name because they've tweeted a million times over the years and stuff, and I love that. It's awesome.
I call that the other side of the tram. My first gig out of college was on the back lot of Universal, and it was like a July, and so I'm walking to the production office that we're at, and the tram goes by for Universal, and it was the first time it really dawned on me, I'm on the other side of the tram. And and I'm like 22 at the time, and I realized on that moment, like, the second it's not cool that I'm on the other side of the tram is when I need to get out.
Right.
Drawing that parallel back between acting and racing, General Hospital is, any sort of soap opera, because it's a daily show and you're filming all the time. A lot of the cast are the people who are entry level would be the wrong term, but people who are maybe not haven't gotten as many good roles in the past, or people who were in big roles and now they're kind of settling in. Would you say that's very similar to sort of trying to make it in racing? Because I assume you're given lines right before you're supposed to say them, and you sort of have to make it work, and you're there every day, and it's a grind. Is that similar to being sort of an entry level driver? In
a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, you're again, you've got this platform now that is not quite minor league. Like, it's an established genre. It's not as popular as it once was, but you still know that you suddenly have to perform.
Right. But it's not easy, I assume.
No, it's I would memorize 17 pages of dialogue a day on average. It was insane.
And just to put that in perspective at home, that is incredibly difficult to do. A normal movie shoots maybe a page or two a day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even episodic television, we would shoot
8 pages a day.
6 to 8 pages a day.
Oh, Jesus.
So from that standpoint, it's a lot like, okay, you don't get the opportunity to be on a show like that without having done some legwork and trained in this and that, and just having some talent. Very similar to motorsports. Like, you're not given a platform in a car unless you've got billions of dollars to just go out there and do something. So you've already gotten to a point where that you've got the basic skill set there to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. But it was a lot like, in this case, Daytona for me, where for all practical purposes I was relearning everything right then and there. Right. And let's throw you out in a group of people here. And ready, set, action type thing.
And you only get a take or two, I assume.
You do, You and then you're moving on. Yeah. And in that sense, for drivers coming in a new series and stuff like that, let's say it's a full 15, 18 race series or whatever, and a driver's come into a team with 30 grand, which will get them into 2 or 3 races, right? So now they know that they've got that. And they know they have to perform, because just like in a soap opera, you can be killed off very easily if they don't like what you're doing and you're not performing. So, it is, in that sense, you've got to come with everything that you've got to prove yourself. And in some cases, in both worlds, even doing that isn't enough. For whatever reason, political or otherwise, you lose a ride, or you're killed off a show, or in this case, Graceland is now canceled. Right. So I'm an unemployed actor again. Right. And so that's how these things work. And teams, you can run a full 2-3 years with a team, and suddenly they run out of money, or they change their plans or whatever, and all that funding is gone, and now you're out of a job.
And so now with Graceland gone, I assume you're sort of in that very similar kind of driver's position where you're calling everybody you can, making sure your network knows you're looking for that kind of gig.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is. And the good thing is, at this point, it's like having done a few seasons in a series. People know who I am to some degree. Again, not necessarily a household name, but people within the industry know who I am and what I'm capable of.
Right.
Just like in motorsports, if you've done 3 seasons of Continental Sports Car Challenge, people within that series know you, and other series know you at this point, and suddenly you're like, hey, just letting you know, yeah, I'm available, or blah blah blah. It's a little different in the acting world because we don't just straight up call casting directors and producers directly unless I've been able to establish some good rapport and relationships with a handful of producers.
Well,
and
that's what I was going to say.
directors,
Is
et cetera.
you're at a point in your career now where you can call maybe an executive producer that you've worked with before and let them know because they can maybe carve a role out for you when they're figuring things out.
Absolutely.
So,
or even, here's the other thing too is there's a massive team of people that make this go around, this thing being television and film, just like there is in motorsports. So if a team goes away, everybody on that team is now unemployed. So they're all looking for things. Somebody's going to land somewhere. So this is where it all goes back to treating people well.
Relationships.
And relationships. And having, as Ryan said, people that want to hang out with you. Because
Ryan said that.
Ryan said that.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
And then you stole it.
Oh,
Or tried to anyway. Shut that down.
And so all these people are going to go somewhere. They may not land on their feet right away, and they're all going to go to different places. But if you've got people that know who you are, know that you're capable of delivering on whatever the job is, and also you're pretty cool to be around, they're gonna look out for you.
Right.
And that's the beauty of working with a team or a collaborative effort, And it's again, it's just the waiting game. Sometimes it gets very frustrating, but it's at the end of the day. Look, I'm not an F1 and I'm not Tom Cruise yet. There's still hope for that.
Yep.
But all I ever wanted to do with my life was race cars and entertain people, and that's all I do right now.
Right.
Which is pretty damn amazing.
Right.
And, and then I finally found the capper of finding the perfect woman that understands all this. And she grew up in a race car family. She was born on a Tuesday, was at a racetrack on a Saturday.
Really? Okay.
She drove a 72 Chevelle to high school. Her brother races dirt track modifieds.
Cool.
Doesn't really get a whole lot better. So it feels like, and this is kind of tying into the whole characters in your 30s and stuff, it feels like all of these things in life are starting to make sense now.
Right.
And, I'm not as worried as I once was with when I'm going to work again or whatever. It's not even a matter of when, it's a matter of, or if, rather, it's a matter of when now.
Right.
And that's a nice point in your career to have that.
It really is.
Yeah. Did you know that Spencer Pampilli killed somebody?
What?
So, do you get nervous when Erik drives? Like, when he goes to the racetrack, is that something that really messes with you?
I've actually only been around him when he's actually racing once?
What, Daytona?
Karts once, but Daytona, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, karts
nervous.
and then Daytona.
Because
and
I grew up around circle track
Oh,
racing.
no.
Like,
And then at the NASCAR charity
that's right.
thing I did.
Yeah, I
been
grew
a
up
few.
around like quarter mile, dirt tracks,
Right.
ovals. I can see the whole thing right
Nice.
here, left, right. Like I can see it. But at Daytona, for example, like
It's so big.
You gotta
I don't
wait
know
it
where
out.
the heck
Yeah.
he is. I don't know if he's in one piece. I don't know if all his wheels are on. I don't know who's doing what around him.
So
and
you
it's
grew up
like-
around that scene in Texas?
Yeah.
Nice. What kind of racing was your family into?
My brother races a modified. He's done UMP and IMCA, but my favorites are sprint cars.
Nice.
So
Nice.
like
Yeah.
I used to like World of Outlaws was my stuff.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
You never hear
so
that.
I just edited myself for your show because
We'll
yeah.
edit it back in.
Yeah.
But
That
like
was
way
my-
vulgar.
Yeah, I'll just say
Yeah.
it. So now you can edit
Put
that
that
over.
in. Right.
World of Outlaws. Steve Kinzer was my driver. Like I
Steve
would get out of
Kinzer?
school
Yeah.
on
Alright.
Friday, go to Devil's Bowl, and then
Wow.
like wear the T-shirt, get him to sign it.
Oh,
like
cool.
it was very like
Yeah.
hillbilly-ish of me.
See
but-
why I'm marrying this girl?
Hillbilly.
That's a
Yeah, no,
keeper.
legit. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
So, but yes,
what-
I get nervous.
Have you ever dated like out of shape, pasty white guys?
No.
Okay.
She's got a
Figured
ring
it
on her
out.
finger, man.
Ah,
Back
well,
off. And
shit.
you got an
Yeah.
Asian.
And she's
I love
not
my tacos.
Asian.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
good
what are you
point.
doing?
I was just throwing it out there.
Fail.
Are you a NASCAR fan?
Yeah.
Who do you root for?
I don't keep up with it as much as I did, but back in the day, I was a Jeff Gordon fan for sure.
All right, I can get
Yeah.
behind that.
Cool.
Yeah. I had his
Eric?
pennant on my wall and like, just
That hardcore.
yeah,
Wow.
junk. Yeah.
All right, Eric.
Jeff Gordon.
In NASCAR?
Are you a NASCAR fan?
I am to some. I'm a motorsports fan
Yeah,
in general.
yeah.
So that being said, yes, I'm a NASCAR fan. Is it my favorite genre of motorsports? No, I'm a more diehard F1 guy, or Le Mans type stuff, or WEC, or sports car racing and road racing basically. But in NASCAR, especially now I do have a lot more respect for these guys because I think, I don't know how much oval track experience you have, if any at all. But as road racers, I don't think we think some people think they're better than others, but I don't think necessarily think we're better than guys that turn left all day. But there's that mindset, I think, of, how hard can it really be?
Right.
And then last year, I ended up doing this celebrity charity NASCAR race out of Irwindale here, which is, short track.
Yeah.
We were in a NASCAR limited late model S2 as the full thing. It's a 450 horsepower, slightly heavier, way narrow tired car. But it's still 450 horsepower.
That's a lot of cars.
Half mile oval.
Yeah.
It's 3/8 or half mile, Irwindale?
It's 3/8 actually.
It's probably like a 2,600 pound car too.
Yeah,
that's
that's a lot
basically
of
the
car
power to
on
weight
there.
ratio of a GTD Tudor United Sports Car car.
Very similar.
Yeah.
So it's no joke. And having done that.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, so having done that, I definitely gained some more respect for what the guys do. Because, again, out there, it's short track stuff, so there's a lot more bumping off of each other, and we're not carrying a lot of speed. I think maybe we see 100, 105 out there at most. But you start thinking about how much we're bumping off of each other and stuff, and then you start thinking about these guys doing it with twice the amount of cars. Yeah, they're on a super speedway, but that also means they're doing 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, but sometimes they're at Bristol,
That's
or
true.
Martinsville, and they've
That's
got
true.
950 horsepower.
Yeah.
So this was a celebrity race, you say?
Yes.
Who were you? So tell me.
So, okay, it was
And more importantly, who was?
Well, let's find out who was in
Let's
it.
find out who they were.
Guess.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
that's
guys
a good point. We
guess.
should figure this out.
Okay, let's see if I can remember. It was a pretty interesting little
Caitlin?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
All right.
No Caitlin.
Who's
No,
Caitlin?
Bruce.
Jenner.
Oh,
Shoot.
ish.
So it was me, Mark Paul Gosselaar,
Okay.
Lorenzo Lamas.
Yes.
Uh,
Keep going.
Mark
Krisky,
Krisky.
who's a local weatherman here.
Okay.
Nice. He
Trisha Helfer, Nathan Kress. Who else was out there?
Corbin Blue.
Corbin Blue, Matt D'Andrea.
And this is a celebrity race.
I was waiting for you to chime
I
in.
couldn't
on
resist.
that.
Go on.
Hey, half these kids are like Nathan Kress, for example, right? I didn't even know who Nathan was.
Right.
Super nice kid, by the way. He shows up, and we're practicing for the first time. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. Well, here, let's take this picture together. Oh, okay, I'm going to post it on Instagram. What's your social? Oh, it's Nathan Kress. Oh, 1.2 million followers. Oh,
Right.
okay,
Oh, okay.
cool. Yeah, he's, a lot of, Corbin Blue, same thing. He's High School Musical. They've got a ton
Right.
of fans.
Right.
They're just younger,
Yeah,
not our
yeah.
demographic. But
Ryan's
I mean-
Googling.
Yeah, I don't know
For
who
the-
these people are.
Yeah,
I knew
exactly.
Mark Paul Gosselaar.
Yeah.
Zach Morris.
Yeah,
of course.
Exactly.
So I think we kind of got through the majority of the field. I can't remember who else was there. I feel like an asshole if I'm leaving somebody out, but
They're not listening. I think you're fine.
Yeah,
so that said, who would you
Lorenzo Lamas.
who would you think was shit?
all of them.
Well, first, let's back it up. Where did you stack? Because I'm going to hope that you were probably on
better
the top
been up
end of
front.
this. Yeah.
So it came down. I finished second. I lost to Zach Morris by
But
a fender.
But he races.
He's got a thing,
Zach.
Yeah.
Zach. Mark
Zach.
Paul.
Yeah, no, it's Zach.
Who was on a little show called Saved by the Bell?
Mark Paul is a legit racer.
Yeah, he does the celebrity Toyota
He
thing
did that.
a
He's done that a
bunch.
couple times.
Yeah.
He had done a previous one at Irwindale, so that's going
Right.
to be, and that's how this story works out basically. So there's really only one good groove at Irwindale.
Okay.
And I'd never been on that track
Sure.
before, and he had. And the shitty thing is, they kind of inverted the field, or I don't remember what they did. They made him and I start back in
Sure.
the back.
So now you're fighting.
And
your
so
way.
now we're
Yeah.
fighting, but they didn't put us side by side. He was in front of me.
Oh.
So from the get-go, I'm having a fight. Nobody else is really. Both him and I kind of talked about it early on. We're like, this is, it's going to be you and
It's
me.
our
Let's
risk.
just
Right.
going to
Yeah,
figure
yeah.
out how
Yeah.
this goes and just not get hit by anybody else.
Right.
And so we make our way through, literally, I think 3 laps into it, and him and I are already out front. And we had a killer battle. I mean, honestly, it was all the fans in the stands there that night, even the ones that didn't know who the hell we were, that just came for regular racing,
Right.
said it was the best race of the night with him and I. It was awesome, man. It was door-to-door stuff, very clean. He's a very, very clean racer, but he had that groove. There's mid to high groove at Irwindale, and I'd go and I'd try my road race stuff. Again, not having a lot of oval experience. And I try to go and outbrake him and stuff it down low. And I get alongside him and then get right around him mid-corner between like 1 and 2. And I go to get back on the gas, and you can't put power down.
Right.
So here I am spinning tires, and he's slingshotting off the
He's
corner.
riding the cushion.
Yeah.
Getting out
And
of
I'm
there.
like,
Yep.
son of a bitch. So we do this for like 3-4 laps, and my right front tire starts overheating, and I'm pushing almost into his door, so I have to tuck him behind him,
Yeah.
get the car settled back down again, and then try to strategically make a move again. And finally we get down to last lap, and I mean, we're on his bumper, and we've been dicing it up the whole time. So I go in 1-2, I kind of follow him in and like push him out of 2.
Yeah.
We go into 3, and I go down and I brake as late as I possibly can, throw the thing in. It's getting squirrely on me. I go to get on it, and it literally, I know I'm spinning tires, but at this point it's like, let's just see if we can make this stick somehow and force him into a mistake or something. And so we ended up coming out of 4, and we go, and I'm literally like at his door at the finish line. It was a hell of a race.
Nice.
What we didn't realize is Corbin Blue damn near took both of us out on that last
just
lap.
went for it.
He
Right.
just
Yeah.
came from nowhere, just and we looked at tape, and he was like a foot off
Right.
of Mark Paul's bumper. But yeah, so it was a good race. And the cool thing is the guys that kind of car owners that put this thing together and let us drive their cars and stuff, they invited me back out to drive
cool.
for them.
Yeah.
So I got invited out to Bakersfield, which I couldn't do because I was filming something, and then the Bull Ring in Vegas.
Yeah.
And so I went out to Vegas and I ran the Bull Ring
Oh, awesome.
amongst a bunch of like
Regular
legit
and you
guys.
just, and totally unannounced, you just show up and
Yeah.
you're anybody to them.
Just show out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And I
that's
kind of
awesome.
like that.
Yeah,
like
of course.
It's again, and I hear this a lot about Dempsey. And the ironic thing is, him and I, Grey's Anatomy and General Hospital are the 2 main productions on a little lot called Prospect Studios here.
Yep.
We were there. I was there for 2 years. He's there for a lot more, obviously. I've met every other cast member on there. Never met him on the lot.
Yeah.
We go to Daytona this year. He's on the Tudor side. I'm on Continental side. And this is going to sound very Hollywoody, but like my publicist was talking to his publicist, like, hey, let's we both know of each other. I mean, everybody knows who he is, but he knew of me just through the motorsports world and all this other stuff. And we're going to make it happen. And then Saturday morning rolls around, and his ex-wife drops that bomb.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's just not bother him. He's got a race to
Right.
think about now. So I still, to this day, have never met.
You still never
Patrick
crossed
Dempsey.
paths. That's
No.
crazy.
Which is very strange to
Yeah.
me.
So, one of the things we've been doing as a theme on the show is passing along a question.
Uh-huh.
So yesterday we had lunch with C.J. Wilson, pitcher,
Yeah.
former pitcher for the.
Texas Rangers
Right.
went back to the Angels.
You're
Cool
very-
story.
You're very, very bitter about that.
A little bit.
And I don't think C.J. understood that his question would be asked in front of your wife, or soon-to-be wife,
Oh,
shit.
boy.
which is fantastic for us.
Let's pull these headphones off.
Yeah.
now.
Earmuffs.
So CJ's question was he had 2 questions actually, but we're going to ask both of them because he changed it after the first one. The first question was, what is your development plan to get the most out of your effort level, so you can get the first you can go in racing? Like, what's the plan to get you into a GT car, into a prototype, or just to get you to be the best racer you can be with your racing career?
I mean, the plan is kind of it's a loose one just because of the situation. Like, I can't necessarily, in a normal world, I would say I'm going to run a full season of Continental Sports Car Challenge and then move over to the Tudor side, something like that, right? But given my circumstances and work schedule and everything like that, it's more about utilizing the relationships at this point and leveraging what I can bring to the table outside of just being a race car driver. What I can do, whether it be appearances, whether it be, speaking at charitable events, but whatever I can bring as an asset to the team is going to be the main focal point. And seat time, whatever, forming a relationship, which we're, luckily I've formed a bit of a relationship with the guys at Momo. So, Momo, every race car driver knows Momo. It's 50-year heritage and some amazing shit throughout those years. Kind of fell off the face of the earth over the past 10 years.
Sure.
Like, not a lot of people. If you talk to anybody under 25, they don't really know much about Momo. They may have seen a sticker or heard of it. There's a big hope that I will be in one of their GT3 cars at the 24 Hours of Daytona this year, or this coming year. So that said, the goal is to kind of utilize these networking abilities and the people that I know to get the seat time to then get in a car like that at these big one-off races and do well enough to continue to do one-off races. I don't know that I'll ever be able to commit to a full series season unless I pull a Dempsey at some point in time and make $50 million and say, hey, I'm going to quit acting for a while and focus on WEC.
Right.
Which is the goal. I mean, that would be amazing. But yeah, I think now it's going to be focusing on these big one-off events. I was just down close to the border of Mexico today testing in a Class 10 buggy because we're working, again, kind of with the Momo guys and some other people, Pete's Camp Racing, who they've won the 500 and the 1,000 and everything like that. A guy named Rafael Navarro who works for another tire manufacturer.
Nope. Nope.
But he also races off-road. And so anyway, we're working on a program there to run the Baja 1000. I don't know. It's only 5.5 weeks away, 6 weeks away. So whether or not we'll actually make this year's 1000 is still up in the air. Whether I will, I mean, they're going to run at least one car. I don't know if they're going to run two. And so whether or not I'll be in that car this time around is still up in the air. I will definitely be in that car at some point in time down the road, which to me is badass. Like, all my racing has been on asphalt, and it's predominantly been road racing aside from these, couple of oval track stuff we just talked about. But I mean, dude, have you ever been? Either of you guys ever been in off-road?
No, I want to do it so bad.
Oh my God,
yeah,
dude,
it looks
it's
awesome.
It's insane. So we're going out today.
Today was your kind of first real taste of it,
It
right?
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, aside from growing up in El Paso, Texas, and just taking my '85
Sure.
Bronco 2 out there and doing stupid shit when you're a teenager,
What color was your Bronco?
it was blue and white, two-tone.
My buddy in high school, that was like our first friend that had a car. He had a Bronco too, and it was like powder blue.
Ah.
It was just god awful. We loved that thing.
This was like a navy blue and white with like a powder blue pinstripe
Yeah,
that separated
yep.
the colors.
Believe it.
But it was my grandpa's, and he left it to me when he passed away. So to me, it was the coolest thing in the world.
Totally.
But anyway, aside from that, this was my first, real go at doing anything
Right.
out in the desert. And some people that are obviously, there's a lot of big motorsports fans that are going to be tuning into this will know that that Patrick Long also ran with these Pete's Camp guys. He won the 1,000 with them.
Right.
And so it was cool having these conversations with them today. I've known most of the guys for a while, but some of the guys that wrench on the car and everything like that were making that that correlation there. Not necessarily. I'm never going to put myself in the same realm as Pat Long because the dude's stupid talented, but we're both coming from like a road racing type of thing. And the thing is, it's so badass, but it's so different. I mean, in road racing, you're fighting the car a little bit here and there if the setup's not great. But if the setup's great, typically you're hitting your marks, you're turning in, there's a lot of grip, you power down, you go out of a turn, and then you're there. I mean, it's never that perfect, but that's the idea. Out here, man, it's just pin it and let the car do what it's going to do and don't fight it too much. And as long as you're not getting out of the groove, just hang on.
Right.
And then, you go through we're going through these whoops that literally some of these dips were as deep as she is tall. They're like 5 feet deep. It's
Whoa.
insane. And you're just,
Big.
Hitting them. It is actually. It's
6'2", right.
It's I mean, we're going at it 70 miles an hour, by the way, which is 70 miles an hour on dirt. Might as well be 170 on asphalt.
Right,
It's insane.
The second question was, can you describe the quality level at the racetrack versus the quality level at the set?
He's not talking about the staff. Candace, would you like to answer this?
No.
You might want to go to the restroom before we hit the road home. It's a bit of a drive home. Just if you're.
This is going out over the air, so.
No, I know. The level. Yeah, we can talk openly about this. She's secure. She knows that I'm coming home to her. It varies. There are a lot of beautiful people in Hollywood, and I've been able to work with a lot of beautiful people in Hollywood. That said, for the most part, the outfits at a racetrack they don't leave a whole lot to the imagination.
Sure.
I mean,
Well, that's very specific to tire models.
yeah, very much so.
Right. Well, yeah.
I mean, what are we talking? Fans here? We talking like
Whatever
Did
you want it
rephrase
to
the
be.
question?
Yeah. This kid literally, anything you want.
I mean, fans. There's some crossover there actually, so they're all about the same. It's this is a hard question to answer properly.
Should I really leave?
He's
No,
gonna- no. How many races do you go to, Candace?
How many races?
Yeah.
Lately, not very many.
Okay.
In my life, a ton.
But you went to Daytona though.
Yeah, I did go to
Okay.
Daytona.
So did he get recognized at Daytona at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
he
So
did.
so let's just say the lady fans that recognize him at Daytona.
Right.
How would you compare them to the lady fans that would recognize him in Toluca Lake?
Wow. I'm gonna sound like a huge raging bee.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
They're passionate. They're passionate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on.
Yeah.
So who are we interviewing next?
Well,
They're
so
over us-
we have
over
one
you.
of
No,
Next.
you now have to pass this
You got to
question
find a
on.
question, right?
So our next guest is Paul Fanner, and Paul, I'm not sure if you're familiar with
Racer
him.
magazine.
Racer
I don't
magazine.
know a whole lot about him.
That's
Right,
okay.
right.
But yeah, racer, and he's, let's just say he's been in sort of the journalism business of
Sure.
motorsports for a very long time. So if there was one chance you had to ask him a question, what would it be?
Jeez. I mean, I guess it would be, what it would take to, because this is kind of not so secretively, but always been another kind of dream of mine. I had a subscription to Motor Trend magazine and Car and Driver and everything when I was a kid. That's like what I wanted for gifts
Right.
for Christmas and birthdays and stuff. And part of me always wanted to write for these magazines, to
Okay.
review, to do this or that. So I guess the best question would be, what would Erik Valdez have to do to get a guest column here or there in Racer Magazine?
I have one.
You're about to say you just need a good.
Just start driving.
If only
Computer.
Yeah.
if only
think
we
it's a
knew,
laptop.
if
Right.
only we knew a PR guy that's normally can set that stuff up,
Or me.
or Ryan.
Or Ryan.
So,
Then I should find a better question for.
No, that one's good.
That's a
He'll
good
probably call you.
yeah.
Like, hey, what did you want? Just send us something. Click.
Write some shit.
Hangs up.
Cool.
All right.
Sweet.
When it comes to take what you did this morning, obviously, kind of being all in one piece, being a good-looking guy is a big part of your career. Does that ever become a concern when you get behind the wheel that, like, if something went wrong, you kind of don't want to screw up your moneymaker?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, I guess if I'm honest with myself, is there more inherent fear now that I'm in my 30s? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the guy I was when I was 19, 20 years
Sure.
old. Back then, and I think this goes for everybody, especially race car drivers, there is no fear. Like, you get in the car and you just go as fast as you possibly can, and the idea of ever crashing never enters your mind until you crash or until you go off. And luckily, I've never had any major incidents, but some things have woken me up. And now the biggest thing for me is, yes, there's a career to lose, but more than anything, and it's not just because she's sitting here, like I've now got this new stage in life, and so
Right.
all of those things start to enter your head and everything. And the sad reality of that is, in all honesty, it's probably made me a few tenths slower than I probably was in my
Sure.
20s, because you do have those thoughts that go in there. I don't ever think
You should blame the setup, by the way, not the fear.
that's why I go with all
Okay,
the
good.
time.
Good, just
Yeah.
making sure.
Left front shock is just off.
Yeah.
The ironic thing is, as an actor, to portray whatever character you're portraying, you kind of have to remove everything else and become this character. And so those two things parallel more than I ever thought. I mean, if you tell the average person, yeah, race car driver and actor, they're like, apples and tires. It literally like two completely, not even apples and oranges. They're just way far removed. But there's so many similarities that it's crazy, actually. The hustle involved from trying to get rides and trying to keep rides and stuff. The schmoozing involved in the networking side of things. The physical fitness that you have to maintain to either be able to do stunts or look aesthetically pleasing in the Hollywood world, or be able to sit in a car for 2 hours at a time with a heart rate at like 165 plus and not die. Like, there's all these different things that a lot of people don't realize really go hand in hand. And
Or the perception of glitz and glamour when in reality it's not.
Yeah,
absolutely,
That's a big part of it.
that's the, and I'm sure you get this too. I mean, people see actor on television, race car driver, factory driver for Acura. We're millionaires, right?
I'm raking it in.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
according
I have a
to,
jet
yeah,
and a
to,
yacht.
to middle America, we're like,
Yeah.
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 And that's just not the reality of it. I mean, the thing I keep it real with everybody. I always
Right.
have. And the thing is, like, sure, I make pretty decent money now. I'm not rich by any means, but I make a decent living. But here's the reality of it. I'm just now getting to the point where I can live comfortably because
Right.
for the first 6 years of my career, it literally, here's the abbreviated version of my journey, but moved out here to Pasadena, lived with roommates, moved into a $1,000 a month, 400 square foot loft in Hollywood.
Yep.
Writer's strike happened in '08. Economy went in '08. My little small business that I started had no business in '08. So guess what? I couldn't afford to pay rent for 3 months. I had a landlord that was very gracious and let me stay there to the point where my pride wouldn't let me continue to do that because I didn't see light at the end of the tunnel. And I lived in my 2004 Mini Cooper S for about a week before I could get rid of that pride and then sleep on buddies' couches
Right.
for
Right.
another few days. And luckily, it didn't last much beyond that. But I think that's one of those things in life that kind of tests you as to how bad do you want it.
Right.
You know, again, whether you want to be a race car driver or an actor in this case, or anything else, if you want to own a hot dog cart in Times Square, if that's a dream of yours, you have to be willing to go through whatever it is to
Right.
get there.
Right.
And I have a very supportive family, thankfully. You know, we didn't come from money or whatever, but they were always there. You know, no matter what you want to do, we're there to support you. I could have gone back to Texas when tucked tail and just said, you know, F this is too difficult, and gone back. But I wanted it, you know, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get there. And I think that speaks volumes, as cliche as it is.
Right.
You know, I'm a massive dreamer, always have been. But if you have big dreams, you have to be a doer, and you have to be willing to go through whatever
Right.
it is to achieve those. And so, you know, that's always been kind of my little motivational speech, so to speak, when people ask, you know, well, how did you get there, or, you know, blah 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 or whatever. And it just literally, there's no, unless you're born into billions of dollars, and, you know, it's just, and money isn't the answer to everything, but that there's really no other way of getting around
Right.
any dream
Right.
other than hard work and perseverance and all that other stuff.
Well, and just like racing, you know, we all know the wealthy drivers, but kids that come into acting who have money, they can't necessarily buy themselves a role like you can in racing.
Okay,
Some
yeah,
can.
yeah.
But what they can do is buy themselves leverage and time and not have to work that night shift at a
Right,
restaurant
right.
and so they can put time in. Does that ever frustrate you at all when you were coming up? That
No, in all honesty, I've never compared myself to anybody else. Not to say I'm better than anybody else. I know my strong suits and my weaknesses, and I'm, you know, day in and day out, I learn more about my strengths and weaknesses. I think that's just an ongoing process. But knowing that, the only person I've got to compete with is myself.
right.
And
Patrick Dempsey.
And Patrick Dempsey, who has way better hair than I do. But, you know, it never really, that part of it never really affected me. And it wasn't, I mean, sure, if I'm real, we all have our moments where we're way down here and we're
Yeah.
like, why is shit so difficult for me?
Because
Why am I going through
There has to
this?
have been a guy that you were on a project with. Like, how the did that guy get?
Oh,
that
there's
deal?
Yeah.
several of
Yeah.
those. We'll see. She knows because she reads my auditions with me all the time.
Yeah.
And we'll see a show come, you know, 3 or 4 months down the road. We see the scene that I auditioned for, or the show that I auditioned for,
Yeah.
if it's a new show, get picked up, and see the guy playing the character that I auditioned for. And she's worse than me. She'll yell at the TV, "That's what the F, blah, blah, blah.
He's
this
Pug.
and that." Yeah, he's
right.
Pug, and you're just and, you know, thankfully I got the cheerleader in my corner
So
here.
Radio Disney the way she said that. I love that.
Right.
Fug.
But it's, you know, so yeah, I have those moments where it's frustrating, but at the end of the day, it's just part of the business.
You get a part on New Girl.
Yeah, that's the coolest title of any character role I've ever had.
Douchebag number 2.
Oh yeah,
Douchebag number 2 is what
Not
they
even
have to
number
tell
1.
you. Right.
not even number 1. No.
So at any point you're like, oh, cool, I'm being cast as a douchebag. Is that like when you're going into the room? Do you walk in and look around like, do we all look like
And
douchebags?
what's the proud call to your parents like?
That one,
with that?
it's you have to be able to laugh at yourself.
Right.
In all honesty,
Right.
Those types of jobs, if I'm honest, that's a paycheck job.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's at that point where, you know what, I don't really have a whole lot of money saved up right now. Here's an opportunity. It's gonna pay. You know, I think I probably to go play douchebag number 2 for those 2 episodes, I probably got paid a few $1,000s.
Right.
Which at the time was like, hey,
Yeah.
that's good money. And I
Yeah.
still get residual checks for douchebag number 2.
Right.
Yep.
They're like $3.61,
Those
but
but those are
you know,
douchebag checks.
that buys iced tea.
Yeah.
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 And but no, I mean,
We'll get the iced tea. Don't worry about it tonight.
sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I'll let you guys can be douchebag 3 and 4.
Yes.
There
I'm
you
3.
go.
Yeah, I
I'm
wasn't
3.
even going to question that.
But no, there are certain roles like that you don't, you can't be completely choosy right off the
Right.
bat. And the thing is, you can't let your ego get the best of you either. You
Right.
have to laugh about it. Yeah, I'm going to play douchebag, and I'm going to be the best damn douchebag ever.
Right.
Right.
You know?
So when you're going to these auditions and you walk in, do you see the same group of guys that you've been
Occasionally.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh hey,
At
the
this level especially. Now, early on, it's just it's a
Yeah.
plethora. For these smaller, ironically, and it's the weirdest thing in the world, like, I can't remember what show it was, and I didn't even book this role, but I had an audition once early on, and I shit you not, it was one line. And it might have been even one word. I don't remember what it was, but it was literally like, let's just say it's tea was the thing, and you'd go in and they literally called in. There's probably 30 guys there, and we all went in and like tea. And that's the
That's
audition.
it. Yeah.
And it's like, why? Why
Right.
do you even waste time with something like that?
Tea?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
and that's what people don't realize is you probably had to go to like one of these herding calls where you're showing up. It's like show up between 8 and 2,
Right.
And do it. So you're there with 100 guys and you're losing 6 hours of your day
I mean,
for one line.
luckily, I didn't quite have to start there just
Okay.
because I did have some connections when I moved out here, which is how I did Gilmore Girls and everything.
Okay.
Again, very small role.
Right.
I think I did 3 episodes, and I think cumulatively I probably had 4 or 5 scenes.
Right. Candace,
Yes.
can you scrap?
What?
Can you scrap? Are you a fighter?
If I have to be, sure.
Because I'm going to make a bold prediction that is as Eric's racing career continues to elevate, you're going to have that moment where you tussle with another driver, or a bad call is made or something like that. I'm guessing you're going to be the girl
Oh,
that
yeah.
gets to somebody. Are you going to be that girl?
If it's anything else outside of motorsports, I would
Yep.
probably be like, whatever. But, like, I know what heart and, like, things go into, like, being a racer. And, like, no, I'll go after somebody.
So we can
Nice.
see you. So you would one day slap Max Pappas?
I don't know who Max is.
Good.
But
worry
if
about
he
it.
tries to mess with my man on the track, yeah, I'll come
All
after
right.
him.
There
Yeah,
you
that's
go.
my girl.
We're going to see you on
Hold my
highlights.
ring.
I like that.
We're going to see you on highlights. I'm excited.
She's she would be a scrapper. It's a good thing she wasn't in Vegas when that guy hit me on the last
Oh,
lap,
yeah.
she would have.
I would have probably
She would've
lost,
lost it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
All right.
thanks
well,
for coming, guys.
yeah.
Really appreciate the time.
it was awesome, man. How long did I talk for?
An hour.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Continental's got the check.
I'm finished.
And there you go. Erik Valdez and his fiancee Candace. Gotta say, you can see why that guy is where he's at, because he is incredibly likable. And if you were listening, you heard a mention that he might run the Baja 1000. And while we were putting this together, I sent a text back and forth with him. And just to give you a quick update, he is running the Baja 1000, which at the time of this release, he should be sort of right in the thick of it. So wishing him luck, hope it goes well. And to play us out, we will play a lady by the name of Ellie Carpenter. We share a mutual friend who thought she might be a good fit for this. So here's a song of hers called Open Heart, also available on iTunes. Thanks for listening.
Since you left, I'm feeling changes. They come and they go. I'm confused. listeners.